So, hello everyone, back to my stream. And today we're gonna make one arena run. I'm gonna make one arena run. I don't know if I have time to stream more, so I just go for one arena right now and hope that I have time to stream more after the arena. Let me just adjust some things here. Make sure that my I can see the chat room and stuff. Okie dokie, so let's go. I went through one thing before, that it's just doesn't matter which class you play, just feel comfortable on the class. Some people are have the opinion that some classes are better than others. I think, yeah, there are some classes who have like slight edges, but yeah, if you prefer to play one class, you will normally do better with it. I can go into deeper details in another video, but today I just want to play one arena and don't want to talk too much about the heroes itself. So I'm gonna just... What I did is I tracked my... let me see. I tracked my stats with arena, and I played every class. Let me see. And I just checked which classes I'm most I have most wins with, and then I can just check back how good I do with the class and can use the class where I have the highest win percentage. And I just looked it up, and my highest win percentage is with the Mage. So out of these three, so I choose Mage. Okay, so let's go through these three cards. Let's start with the Azure Drake. So I have prepared something for you right here. So basically, Azure Drake... Oh, that's the wrong card. Azure Drake is a 5 mana minion. So if you look at the... What does a 5 mana minion have to do? You can basically get every single 4/4 mana, 4/4 minion for 5 mana, as you can see in this corner up here. I have one over here. I have the all the minions which cost 5 mana and have 4/4. You basically get 4/4 with an effect for 5 mana all the time, so it's no special. And you have to compare with other 5 mana minions like the 4/6 you see here. I have to get used to that. So you can get a 4/4 or a 4/6 for 5 mana. And what you have to compare with is the... Wait, here? No, there. There, the Yeti, all over there. Because it's the next minion with almost equal skill stats. So you can get a 4/5 without effect for 4 mana. So the effect you have has to be as good as 1 mana, you know? So Azure Drake gives us spell damage +1 and draw a card for 5 mana. So we see 4/4 is a bit worse than 4/5. And normally we would want to have like stats like 4/5 if we want 5 mana. But if you look at draw a card, I have to switch the scenes here. If you look at all cards that give you card draw, you have to differentiate between card draw and card rotation. I call a rotation, you play a card and get another card for it. So you basically don't get more cards, you get just another card for the card you just played. So the Azure Drake is a card rotation. And if you look, for example, at the cards like Loot Hoarder, you can see that you always get a 2/1 minion, you always get for 1 mana. Like these ones here. The Argent, the Abusive Sergeant. You get a 2/1 minion for 1 mana, and so the draw a card on this card is worth 1 mana, because it's 2 mana for a 2/1. So card rotation means 1 mana. If you want a card draw, you have to look at the other over here, the spells. And in the spells, you pay 1 mana for the card rotation, and 2 mana for each additional card. So we have 1 mana Arcane Intellect for the rotation and 2 mana for the draw. In Sprint we have 1 mana for the first card, and the next 3 cards are like 2 mana each, so we have 6 mana for that. So Azure Drake is basically completely perfect from the value. 5 mana, worth 5 mana of stats and stuff. So nothing to worry about. And yeah, and even we have, I didn't tell you too much about spell damage, because spell damage is really hard to get. You basically, how I go to spell damage, because there are so many different cards which have spell damage, and you can't really say, yeah, spell damage is like 1 mana. It's not like that easy at spell damage. So what I do is I evaluate everything on the card without the spell damage, and then I evaluate the spell damage, how much it has to be worth on this card to make the card worth the whole mana cost. And this card is basically fine without the spell damage, so spell damage here is for free and is a good effect as a mage, so I like spell damage here. Okay, so let's jump to the pin-sized summoner. The pin-sized summoner is 2/2 for 2 mana, and as you can see right now on the screen, over there and over here, I have to readjust the camera while I'm talking. See? So over here and over there. You can see that 2/2 for 2 mana is too low from the stats. You lose 1 stat. So this minion dies to all 2-drops, and some 2-drops left to it, and dies to a lot of 1-drops. So yeah, it's from the stats. You have to evaluate now that you lose 1 stat, and so the battle cry you get has to be better. The effect has to be better than 1 health or 1 attack, and the first menu you play each turn costs 1 life. It's pretty much okay, I would say. So you can take this card for 2 mana. I think it's okay. If you have to think about it, if the card lives 1 turn, you pay 1 mana less for another creature. So this card gives you basically alone 1 mana of value per turn. So if it doesn't die, it's like the effect itself should be like at least 1 mana per turn if it lives. So you have to evaluate in your head how many times it's gonna die or it's gonna live. So yeah. So if you can make this live, it's pretty much worth the cost. And you have to see in play how much value it has. So from the card itself, it's fine, I would say. Now let's look at Alarmobot. Alarmobot is a 0/3 for 3 mana. I don't have to go above that. 0/3 for 3 mana is like really bad. As you can see right now, you always get 3/3 for 3 mana, or even 4/3 for 3 mana with, you can heal it up, and then you have like a 4/7 for 3 mana. Yeah, so basically that's the 2 things you can have. I want to add 1 minion here I didn't cover, and that's the, let's see, we're at 3 mana. It should be, where is it? Let's see, I want to add this one. Yeah, here he is. I want to add this guy. He's also a 4/3 for 3 mana. So stat wise, you see, yeah, it's not very good. And the value you have from this card can be very good or very bad. So it's not an arena card. You can build troll decks with it, but I would pick Alarmobot. I would pick every card over Alarmobot in arena. There's no reason to pick it over the other 2 here. So now we evaluate the first card, and we can see that we have these 2, and I prefer the Azure Drake because deck rotation is very good, and Pin-sized Summoner is only worth it if you can make it live at least one turn. Azure Drake is always worth it, no matter if you get it or not. So let's look at these minions. Let's start with the Fen Creeper. Fen Creeper is 5 mana minion, and if you look at other 5 mana minions, like here, you can see we already talked about that. We have the 4/4s and the 4/6s. So we lose. I would compare to the 4/6 because the health is equal, and so we can just focus on the one stat that's different. And we lose 1 damage for taunt. And that's the same, we can talk about Senjin, Sheepmaster in the same run, because Senjin is like the same thing. It's like the Yeti that you can see over here. The Yeti is like the 4/5, and you lose 1 damage and get the taunt for it in the Senjin. So you lose 1 damage for a taunt here. And yeah, that's pretty much decent, and you have to think about 2 things here. Especially if we want to evaluate these cards. So I think to pay 1 damage for taunt it's okay. So the cards are not like worthless. And normally at the taunt card you want to have that the taunt card lives. You know, it's no use if you have a taunt minion that dies immediately. And yeah, why? I don't know. That's just like wasted card. And so these 2 are the better taunt minions, because with the 5 or 6 health they are pretty hard to kill without having any casualties. So they are good cards to have as a taunt. And basically, so if we want to decide between these 2 creatures, we could go for the curve. We have already 5 I mean, we only have 1 card, so we can't really talk about the curve. Then we can talk about removals. These 2 die to a fireball from an enemy, but to no AoE removals. And yeah, I would prefer Senjin Sheepmaster here, because I don't want to have turn 5 taunt if I can have a turn 4 taunt. So I would prefer Senjin over the Fen Creeper here. If we look at the Arcane Missiles, I have to go to this page here. Arcane Missiles is basically random damage to 3 random targets. And not to compare with the spells we see over here, where we get 1 damage for 1 mana. We get 2 damage, for example, to 1 target, and we can specify the target. Or over there we see the 2 mana spells, which deal 2 or 3 or even 4 damage, where we have Eviscerate with the combo. But the 3 damage randomly is, I always feel like a little too less for 1 mana, and even for 1 card, you know. You could use this card if you can combo it with this 1/3 Mana Worm, or with I don't know, the other guy. The Sorcerer's Apprentice is his name. But if you ask me, it's like just almost a wasted card. It's if I would maybe play it if it wasn't if it was a card effect, you know, like the Mad Bomber, just with enemy characters. There I would pay 1 mana for this card, but not just as a card itself. Just not worth the card, you know. We value card draw or cards as almost 2 mana because of the card draw thing we talked about earlier, and so I don't think this card is worth being a card, you know. So we decide between Senjin and Fen Creeper, and I take Senjin because I like the taunt of the turn 4 more. Now we have some things we already talked about. Let's start from the left side again. 5 mana minions, we have the 4/4s and the 4/6s. And as you can see, I have you pay 1 mana more than Yeti in this case, but you get 1 health more, so it's basically not the perfect card from effect. But yeah, the 1 mana for 1 stat is like pretty bad, so it's not the perfect card, the Spiteful Smith. Then the Frost Elemental. You have to compare 6 drops with the Boulder Fist Ogre. The Boulder Fist Ogre has 6-7, so you lose the stats 6-7, so 1 attack and 2 health for the Battle Cry here. So this minion is basically not worth the cost, the Frost Elemental. Sorcerer's Apprentice is perfectly fine minion. We talked about this earlier. You basically get 2 kinds of minions for 2 mana. The 2 3s and the 3 2s. And this is a 3-2 with the effect, so nothing wrong with this card itself. Without the effect, it's totally worth it. So I would take the Sorcerer's Apprentice here because, well, it's a bit iffy because Spiteful Smith is all around a good card. Just from the stats, it's pretty hard to remove. It's maybe a bit too high from the mana cost, but in the most situations you will see that he helps you a lot. And the Sorcerer's Apprentice is pretty good. For a 3-2 for 2 is perfectly fine, and spells cost 1 less, so if you can cast at least 1 spell, the card is totally perfect worth it. But we don't know if we get spells, so I take him anyways because I hope to get some spells. So you could have put both here. So let's talk about this choice. I don't have to talk a lot about the Yeti. Yeti is basically the 4-drop card you have to compare with if you want to have a 4-drop. This is the basic 4-drop card. Every 4-drop has to compare to Yeti. So Yeti is like the definition of fine for 4 mana. So we don't have to talk about the Yeti a lot. So we go to 6 mana minions, and here we can see the Priestess over there. Here. The Priestess is 5-4 is obviously, like, we can see the Yeti there directly beneath it, on its left, you know, its left. It has almost the same stats, 5-4 for 4-5, but it costs 2 mana more, and so the Battle Cry restore 4 health to your hero is like, I would not even pay 1 mana for that. So this card is trash. Don't use this. Reckless Rocketeer. I guess we have to talk about charge here. Normally, charge is worth. I would say charge is worth 1 mana, because if you look at the Blue-Grey Warrior, it's a 2-1 with charge. It's basically a 2-1, which normally costs 1 mana, and the charge effect. And the charge effect costs 1 mana on this card, and you can see it on other cards too, that it's almost always costs like around 1 mana. So I would value the charge here as 1 mana. Let me see, I can hopefully... can you give this a background? Yeah, I have to change that. Like 15%? Okay. It looks better if I change this. Let's see. 50. Okay, I have to change that later on all scenes. It's like, yeah, I'm learning. Okay, so I would evaluate the charge on the Reckless Rocketeer as 1 mana, and then 5-2 for 6 mana is just nothing. It's just bad. So this card is not worth the cost, if you ask me. And if you have the choice between 2, not the worth the cost and the Yeti, I would take the Yeti. Now we have 3 minions that I can go through very fast. 2-1 for 1 mana, perfectly fine, nothing to argue about. That's value, normal value. The Bloodfen Raptor, 3-2 for 2 mana is basic, nothing to argue about. This is totally worth the cost. Interesting is the Scarlet Crusader, and we have to talk about Divine Shield here. You can look at Divine Shield in two ways. One way is the top way. You can see Divine Shield as 1 mana. Oh wait, I'm totally wrong. I should say this is the case where I only look at one of these, at the top one. The Argent Squire is equals Wisp plus Divine Shield. So Divine Shield is worth 1 mana here. And as you can see on the right side, totally on the right, there, you can see that Divine Shield in this particular card is also 1 mana for this effect, even though I would never recommend using the card Divine Shield, Divine Protection, Hand of Protection. You can basically say Divine Shield is at least 1 mana. So, which minions do we compare this to? Normal 3-drops have 3/3, so obviously Scarlet Crusader lacks 2 defensive, 2 health here. So the Divine Shield has to be worth like these 2 defenses at least. So Scarlet Crusader in this moment is, if we subtract the 1 mana for Divine Shield, we would have a 3/1 for 2 mana. And yeah, that's almost like a 3/2, but not as good. So now we talked about the value of the card itself, without thinking about the game, just the card, looking at the card. So you could argue Scarlet Crusader is almost worth the cost. It's not quite a 3/2 for 2 mana, plus 1 mana for Divine Shield. So why do I still think this card is very good? Because in game theory, you can play Scarlet Crusader, and the enemy has to spend 1 card or 1 minion to deny the Divine Shield or a silence or whatever, and then he has to sacrifice one of his minions, mostly, or use his spell power, his hero power, as Mage, for example. So what you get out of the Scarlet Crusader is, in a lot of trades, you trade 2 minions or 2 cards the enemy has to use to get rid of this 1 card. And that's exactly what you want in Arena. You want cards that give you an advantage. And the advantage is that the enemy has to spend more mana or more cards to get rid of your 1 card or 2 cards. If your enemy spends 4 cards to get rid of 3 cards from you, you're perfectly fine. That's how you want to play Arena. So I would take the Scarlet Crusader here because of the in-game value. It's not the card value itself, it's the in-game value because of the Divine Shield. Okay. Going back to the next one, we have Abusive Sergeant. Perfectly fine, 2/1 for 1 mana. Nothing to say about. Stormwind Champion. 6/6 for 7 mana. I don't have prepared a 7 mana thing because I always compare 7 or 8 mana minions with this one, with the Boulder Fist. Boulder Fist is 6/7 for 6 mana, so we lose 1 health and get an effect for 1 mana. Do we like the effect for 1 mana? Yeah, the problem with Stormwind Champion is he is only very good if you're a little bit ahead. You need to have minions on board to make the Stormwind Champion valuable. So it's not always the perfect card, not in all situations. Again, here we're talking not about the value. Card value is like maybe 1 mana too high. Normally you get a 1/1, the buff 1/1. For 1 minion you get for 1 mana with the Shattered Sun Cleric. But if we talk about, is this valuable as a card in turn 7, I'm always like thinking about this effect is lackluster for a 7 mana card. You lose 1 stat and you have to pay 1 mana more for the 1/1/1. So it's kinda a difficult card. It's not a bad card from value, but it's not helping you if you're behind. You almost can't. You can just play this card and a 3 mana card in one turn, in turn 10, obviously, and can't come back from many situations here. So that's the scary thing. You don't come back very easy with this card. So you have to think about if it's worth it. So we can't say that yet. If we only have, if we would have like 20 cards low drops, like this guy, then Stormwind Champion would be probably very good because we can guarantee that we have board control here. And we can't at the moment, so, well. So we don't know if this card is good, so I tend to take this one. Let's talk about Arcane Explosion. Arcane Explosion is 2 mana, 1 damage to all enemy minions. And we have to compare it with something like Consecrate from the Paladin or Fire... how's the thing? This 4 damage to all minions from Mage. I will think about the name. Flame Strike? Yeah, Flame Strike. It's Flame Strike. It's basically discount one of this. The problem with this guy is, this thing is, you could argue 1 damage for 2 mana if you have Consecration, which deals 2 damage for 4 mana. So basically the card is coast fine. So, but the problem is, you will almost kill no minion with this card. Only minions like the Abusive Sergeant. And it sucks. That's just bad, you know? That's just... You need spell power to make this card kill a lot of minions. And this is a card you want to come back with. And so, yeah, I would not take it here. Only if you have a lot of spell power in your deck, then it's probably a really good card. Yeah, but you can't really kill a board with it, so I would not recommend it in Arena without the proper cards before. So, I take the Stormwind Champion here because... Oh, wait. Yeah, I kind of want to take the Stormwind Champion because I feel like... I don't really personally like using 2 ones in my deck without knowing what I have. So I tend to Stormwind Champion here. You could take Abusive without no problems. It's just a personal choice here. Okay, so let's see. We have first the Ogre Mage. Let's put up that on your screen. 4 mana, 4/4. Has to compare with Children Yeti. So it's little less than the 4/5 from the Yeti. But it has... Yeah, that is basically... From the raw stats, from attack and health, it's basically fine. Almost. 1 health less than the Yeti is okay. And you get a spell damage. So this card is... You pay 1 life for spell damage. So if it's worse for you, then take the card. I would say, yeah, this card is okay. From 4/4 with spell damage 1 is fine for 4 mana, in my opinion. Spell damage should be worth 1 health. It's okay. Loot Hoarder, we already talked about card draws. It's a card rotation. You pay 1 mana for it. That's the definition of card rotation, fine. Let's look at the Novice Engineer. Here I have to go back to the card draw. Novice Engineer sucks. Listen to me. It's a bad card. Why? Novice Engineer basically is a Wisp here with a card rotation. Card rotation costs 1 mana. Wisp costs 0 mana. 1 plus 0 is 1. So if Novice Engineer costs 1 mana, take it. But it costs 2 mana, so leave it. Okay. So basically our decision is taking Loot Hoarder if you want the card draw, the deck rotation, or take the Ogre Mage if we want spell damage, minion and 4/4 for 4 mana. I take the Ogre Mage here because I already have like 1 Azure Drake and I like it for my curve here. Okay, so let's talk about these 3 cards. And yeah, I could put up the Boulder Fist again for the Sea Giant, but it's not really a good comparison. We could say Sea Giant is good if you pay around 8 mana for it. I have to make another, I have to write that down to remember. I have to make a page with the 8-8 page for next comparisons. I would say 8-8 for 8 mana is fine. So if 2 minions are on the battlefield, the Sea Giant is worth it. So okay, it's a situational card in that comparison. Talking about the Spellbinder, you can't really compare Spellbinder to other cards because the big problem is there are no comparable cards in this. Yeah, a bit like Counterspell, a better Counterspell maybe. Not. It's a different Counterspell. Spellbinder is pretty fun against Paladin because if you cast Divine Blessing of Kings and you get a 5/7 for free for 3 mana, that's always fun. The Doomsayer. Destroy all minions at your turn. We talked about 2 drops, and the normal 2 drop would be the Amani Berserker or Ascetic Swamp Wolves 2/3 or 3/2. So this is a total different card, 0/7, and it can reset a board, but you have to protect him for 1 turn. And it's more of a cheesy strategy thing. You need to use this card in in a constructed deck, in my opinion. So we can take Spellbinder or Sea Giant here. I like to take the very hard decision. We don't know a lot of our cards right now. It gets easier, the decisions, from if you have more cards. Let's see. Spellbinder. I like to take the Sea Giant here to have more late game. We will see later on, yeah, if it's a good idea. So let's talk about these 3. Normally you would just take, whatever. I'm gonna talk about the minions. So Elven Archer is a 1/1 for 1 mana with D1 damage. 1/1 costs normally 0 mana, so the battle cry is 1 mana cost, and that's not worth it because dealing 1 damage to a target is not worth 1 mana, because you can see it right here. Moonfire is the comparison card, and it costs 0 mana, so the Elven Archer is not worth the mana cost. Would not recommend this card. Raid Leader. Raid Leader is basically, from the stats here, almost a 2 mana card, but costs 3 mana. And here comes the big problem of Raid Leader. He doesn't survive a lot. He costs 3 mana, so 3 mana is normally a minion that you want to play in turn 3. And this minion only makes sense in turn 7 or 8 if you have total board control. So why would you play this card? From the stats, it's not good enough for 3 mana, because for 3 mana you want at least a 3/3 or something like that. And even if you give 1 attack to other minions, I don't know, it's not worth 1 mana. Only if you have 3-4 minions on the board, then the card would be good, and then you're like in turn 7 and you don't want to play a Raid Leader. So the card is pretty much worthless in a lot of situations. And Flame Strike is the strongest removal in the game. So here, the strongest AoE removal in the game. So I would take Flame Strike, obviously here. Take all the Flame Strikes in Arena. Yeah, this is an awesome thing where we can talk about. I want to start on the right because it's the easiest way to start. 2/1 or 1/2 you always get for 1 mana. I don't... Why do I have no 1/2 minion here? That's pretty bad. You get a lot of 1/2 minions for 1 mana. For example... Let's just open this guy. Wait, what? Move over here. Nice. You can get a lot of 1/2s for 1 mana. So the base stats of this thing are perfectly fine for 1 mana. Then the Twilight Drake. Twilight Drake is like the Yeti. You have to have 4 cards in your hand to make the Twilight Drake worth the cost. And now we have my favorite for explanations. We have the Argent Commander. Because the Argent Commander, I guess is the bottom one of these two above me. You can look at Argent Commander like this. He is a 4/2 with charge that summons another 4/2. Normally you use your Argent Commander to kill something, lose the Divine Shield, and have still an Argent Commander on the board. Without Divine Shield now. But that's basically like you suicide a 4/2 and have another 4/2 on the board. And as you can see above, that's like 3 mana plus 3 mana, so this card is fine. And you can decide what you trade with. Or you can just hit a face if you need to charge to finish one. So Argent Commander is great value of card as a 4/2. It's the other way how you can look at Divine Shield. You have Divine Shield either as a 1 mana-ish thing, and on this card Divine Shield makes that it's almost like 2 4/2 minions. So I would take Argent Commander here, because you can turn the tide of a battle with this guy. Okay, let's talk about these 3. Ice Barrier, in my opinion, one of the weakest secrets ever. It's basically gets 8 life for 3 mana. That's fine from the mana cost, but I don't like playing for healing in arena, because healing normally just delays your death and doesn't turn the tide. The War Golem has to compare with the Boulder Fist, and you pay for 1 attack more, you pay 1 mana more, so it's not perfectly fine from the value of the card here, but in experience you will see that War Golem always trades very good. So War Golem is fine for 7 mana. You can take this guy any day if you just consider the value. Stranglethorn Tiger is 5/5 for 5 mana and stealth. So it's almost like a Yeti. Plus you can decide what you attack with it. So it's more than a Yeti. And that's the reason why it's worth it for its cost, if you ask me. Because the stealth makes sure you can decide what to trade with. So, let's see. We already have like a lot of... We have less 5 drops than 7, so I would take 5 drop here to make the curve more round. Okay, let's talk about these 3 for a second. I have the 4 mana already up, so we get a 2/4 and a 2/1 for 4 mana. The 2/1 is basically 1 mana. We talked about that a lot. So we get for 3 mana we get a 2/4. Yeah, that's basically okay. You get normally 3 mana is 3/3, or these 4/3 wish things. There are some 2/4s in the 3 mana section, and yeah, so 2/4 is okay. It's not very good, but it's okay for the world. Okay, let's look at Wolf Rider. I look at Wolf Rider like it's almost like a 3 damage spell, like the lightning bolt up here, or the wrath up there, but it has to hit taunts. So it's not a very good card, if you ask me. Yeah, it's not perfect. 3-1. Normally you would pay for 3-2. You get for 2 mana, like you see here, and you have 1 less, and you have pay 1 mana, around 1 mana for the charge. It's not very good, if you ask me. So it's on the same. It's a bit worse than Wrangling Mechanic in this scenario, I would say. Frostwolf Warlord is good if you have at least, let's see, I would say if you have 1 minion out, it's a better Yeti with 1 damage more and nothing else. And yeah, for every minion this card gets better. So I would say Frostwolf Warlord is worth it if you have at least 2 minions out. You get a 6/6 for 5. That's great. 6/6 for 5 mana is almost a Boulder Fist Ogre for 1 mana less. I would take that. So I would take the Warlord here. And now we have to see to get more low drops. We almost only have this. We have 1/3 of the deck, a little bit more than 1/3, and we need more low